If you didn't see last week, Hong Kong Attitude, a Ting is now moved from main tank to flex tank, which means Floyd Q and McCulty, the two new members, have picked up the main tank concern. For Machi, very interested to see what Shui brings to the table as a DPS counterpart to Kant, because last week we saw Ryan, and it was a tough series. Look, it was against Detonated Korea. Fun fact from Mui, enjoy collecting Mouse's collection like a little exposition. Now, I wonder, is that like gaming mice? Or?
I think that, yeah, that was my first thought. Like, does that mean gaming mouse or does that mean like rodent?
Why not both?
Why not both? Indeed.
Although
yeah,
it'd be a bit like if you were collecting the pets, then it's like, would you not stop at one? Like, do you need a lot of them?
Why do you need more mice?
Like 2 bats,
Is it like
maybe?
Pokemon?
you
gotta catch them all. Like
every single.
I wonder. I mean, I really do wonder. But yeah, I mean, sorry, that has just completely distracted me from what I actually wanted to touch on, which is actually, I want to touch on the other side of that DPS situation, which is Mui and Xiaolin, because we often talk about it being, you know, a DPS and then a tracer player. And on the side of Hong Kong Attitude, that has always been Mui and then Xiaolin being the tracer player. Xiaolin has, over time, come to really measure up to some of the best tracers the region has seen thus far. And you do actually have to be honest in saying on the other side of that, Kant, the main tracer player for Machi, has never quite hit that same level. Yeah. He's often been just that little bit below them. Still an extremely good tracer player. Still a very deadly tracer player if you take your eye off him for too long, but not quite on that same level. So not only do we need to see that kind of matchup, we also do need to see, of course, Shui really take it to Mui.
And we've seen Mui explode on the professional scene ever since his 2017 World Cup performance. He went to China with Team Hong Kong. Mango Jai was one of his teammates there, and since then, look, Mui went straight to Hong Kong Attitude, has been a mainstay since, has been one of the top players, the top names you got to look out for. Between him and Xiaolin, they cover just about every single DPS hero, but one of them in particular, the Mui McCree, was so good last season.
Yeah, I have very vivid memories of Mui's McCree. Yeah. And we'll have to see how well it comes out here, but we are going to see Kant coming out on the Sombra, already getting into the backside, but there is the flashback, able to get out, but Shui not so lucky, down to the fire strike from Floyd Q. And with that, Machi kind of lose the frontline pressure. Kant can only do so much in the back line. Actually, it's enough to drop Floyd Q. Now you got to see Xiaolin kind of do the work onto these tanks.
And now Machi going to come in, Kiyomi coalesced so early, way before Mango Jai's. That could be enough advantage, in fact, for Hong Kong Attitude. Time for a response.
Yeah, it is enough to get the point, but the response is actually there, like you said, out of Mango Jai, but it's not enough to actually get them on the point. Now they're going to have to find their way in, the Deadeye to come out. They've got to respect this Earth Shatter. Also going to have to respect a lot of other resources, but the grab and the Earth Shatter, big boom! And it doesn't matter if you are gearing up for an EMP, that's a gong. It is flashy, that combo, and it is always so good.
So many ultimates coming into play, and if that wasn't good enough, Xiaolin was so close to that Death Blossom. That could have been another nail in the coffin. Just so many tools for Hong Kong Attitude. The Graviton Surge, okay, not enough. Well, the Earth Shatter, you better believe that is.
Yeah, Floyd Q, well, he's got a clue, already kind of showing up here. That's probably the best Earth Shatter I have seen so far this Contenders. Nice timing on the sound barrier, coming in after the EMP. Now Xiaolin looking to get a position for the Death Blossom as the hack runs out. Now just trying to gear his way into the thick of these tanks. Throws it out, but he's kind of on the wrong side of the pillar to that one. Getting healed up now by the Coalescence. Didn't really get enough damage down, and now the answer comes back in from Judo, who has a ton of charge in the pocket. And that's going to be enough, I think, for Machi to get back on this one.
Yeah, 90 plus there, working himself up to a Graviton Surge. The fact that Machi could have won that without using any of those tank ultimates. The EMP, I believe, did in fact come down, so that is something. But that something allows everyone else to get those ultimates back into play. Wrist here, nearly on top of that sound barrier as well. This should be a pretty stellar Machi defense when you consider what they have available. That being said, look at Hong Kong Attitude. Floyd Q, a Ting, that Earth Shatter Graviton Surge combo up again.
That being said, it was a lackluster Death Blossom out of Xiaolin, and those are the things that could actually end up making the difference here. Just with how Machi are kind of looking, the Graviton in though as they get onto CQB, no sound barrier to save them. Also, no Transcendence either, and they just kind of have to let the route happen. So very cheap fight win for Machi.
One ultimate used, and Machi will be happy to take it. Full team kill as well. Now even overtaking Hong Kong Attitude's progress with the percentage there. Other 5 still ready to use. They got so many tools, whereas for Hong Kong Attitude, just barely charging them up. Still into the same things we saw before. Still the grab, still the Earth Shatter, but none used.
Mango Jai swapped over onto Zenyatta and has now gone back onto Moira. So that kind of sets them really behind. Great EMP into Death Blossom combo. Just kind of shuts the door on that one before Hong Kong Attitude can even get it started. Knock, knock, who's there? It's Pain.
And that is an opening for Shui as well. Welcome to Contenders, mate. That was a pretty stellar opening with the combo directly on top of Hong Kong Attitude, who, by the way, 90%. This is getting far and far away from them. Grab was used by Cheng. Deadeye was used by Mui. What tools they did have are starting to run out.
Luckily, they got the sound barrier. Oh, not gonna... Wow! D-Crown 3 with the Fire Strike seals the deal. I mean, wow, that was... once Machi had it rolling, really one-sided.
Can I just say the combos Machi pulled out were incredible. That last one, you have to go back and see because it was the hack coming up from Kant on the high ground directly into Floyd Q, who did not have time to respond, couldn't stop that hack. No one could shoot Kant because they didn't know he was there. As soon as the shield went down because of the hack, down comes the Earth Shatter from the other side. Machi connected, Fire Strike onto 3. That's absolutely sick.
Yeah, I mean, the grab into Earth Shatter from Hong Kong Attitude looked good, but Machi were doing similarly great combos and more often. You've really got to consider that. I mean, I'm not going to say I was expecting something more one-sided, but I certainly, you know, I was expecting something reasonably close, but with Hong Kong Attitude coming out the better, but Machi were the ones really on fire there.
I mean, that was all just spectacular decision-making macro players. Or the other thing you have to sort of consider here is you talked about the fact that Kant never really matched up as a Tracer. Well, maybe he doesn't have to because as a Sombra so far, look at this again. D-Crown, bam, straight on top of everyone. In fact, he didn't even need the hack. Floyd Q got hacked, but because he was waiting behind them, the hack was just the bonus at that point.
I mean, that is a nutty Fire Strike, right? Like, how often does it all just line up like that? Like, maybe you get one. I think one of the best
you can get is perfect 6, just like, all in a row.
Like bowling, right? Like, it's just, wow. I mean, it was really beautiful.
Strike, buddy.
And it's, I don't know.
And you are the bowling ball because you can charge in, so.
Yeah, and it seems that, like, the real difference here is, you know, compared to the 0-4 that they suffered, it seems that Machi kind of went away and addressed the feng shui of their team.
Yeah. And it looks good. Right now, it looks good. Look, Shui he's been getting in there. I can't really, nothing bad to say about their new pickup so far. Judo had some great Zaya plays. High charge. Grav was good. They had the combos. And again, it comes down to the decision-making and the ultimate usage. Their combos were good. Hong Kong Attitude's combos also good. But the difference, I got to go back to Kant, is the Sombra that hacks the EMP. That's what wins you the game. And unfortunately for Mui, as good as his McCree might be, or in this case, maybe might not have been, Flashbang didn't even kill Kant. That was a really unfortunate play, but the Sombra made the difference, I think. Yeah,
and the Sombra's really working out here for Kant, and something that I think is interesting about that is when these two teams used to play against one another, you know, back in the olden days of 8 months ago, it was Mango Jai and either Kiyomi or Restia both flexing onto the Sombra.
Mui also played a lot of Sombra.
Mui did also play an amount of Sombra, you're quite right, but you know, Kant being on the Sombra was not really a factor. And actually, I think almost they fell into a trap of going, okay, supports play the Sombra, and didn't realize that they had this amazing pocket pick in Kant Sombra. Now that they've realized that, I expect them to get a lot of mileage out of it. Do just have a bit of a pause underway, by the way. Should be getting that addressed before too long. That being said, I do expect Mui to bring out his Sombra very soon. Like, again, if you go back to 2017, when Mui came out into the world stage in Shanghai, at the World Cup, his Sombra was probably the most significant thing. I mean, he played pretty much all Sombra all the time. He brought that into OPC Season 2 with him. Now when Sombra in this specific Contenders patch is better than ever, I'd be surprised if he wasn't playing Sombra a lot more often, especially after that kind of combination play out of Machi where Kant was just so influential. Mui looks at that and thinks, actually, I can do better. Yeah, you'd certainly think so. And also, just to kind of speak to direct comparisons, at least where they exist, I do just want to touch on Shui one last time to compare him to Xiaolin. I mean, we were seeing both having instances where they were kind of struggling to get into the fray, but Shui was finding just a few more ends than Xiaolin was, but very different lineup coming out the gate here this time around. And oh, hey, that's a fun fact about Kant. Did not know that. Voice of an angel.
Win a lot of singing competition trophies, and now he's going to look for an Overwatch trophy as well if he can get it. But now finally also back on to the Tracer, gone up against Mui's Tracer of all things.
Yeah, and that is because they need Xiaolin also on this Genji. I don't want to say this is a weakness of Hong Kong Attitude, but it is a factor if they want that Genji Tracer.
Yeah. Xiaolin's Genji is great.
And that's the thing, is you can't actually put Xiaolin on both, but you'd certainly be happy enough with Mui's Tracer.
You certainly would. Both dives as well. The difference against Shui onto the Pharah means Hong Kong Attitude, they've got to focus on the ground game. They could focus on Shui if they like, but it's a lot to invest in it. And so far, Machi with a superior damage.
Yeah, but it's Hong Kong Attitude with the cap. Oh, a ting. Kong's off the edge. That's a little rough for him. Hong Kong Attitude not quite finding answers here. Need to really start contesting Shui, but there we go, getting D-crowned, and Judo's low. CQB, he's just like, it's all right. We lost a ting, but we'll be fine, guys.
And see, this is the thing for Hong Kong Attitude, right? And it was already mentioned here, but them focusing on the ground game is really what matters here. Shui on the Pharah can do a lot of damage. He's uncontested. Hong Kong Attitude can't realistically kill him outside of Mango Jai landing a really sick volley, but for Hong Kong Attitude, if they can kill everyone else, it doesn't matter what Shui does in the air, and now he's changing on Genji himself.
Yeah, changing on Genji and coming into Xiaolin having a Dragon Blade. So Shui, he's got to... Gonna have kind of a lot of time getting this one going. Sound barrier out because Hong Kong Attitude want to get aggressive in this fight, but they need to convert the kills. There's the sound barrier from Restia, and it's so far matching. Getting the better of this one, getting a ting before he remakes, but here's Xiaolin. Needs to get more than just Kiyomi, needs to get a lot more. Now Shui is going to start answering back as Xiaolin is kind of out of the picture. Hong Kong Attitude, they've kind of committed everything they can really afford to here, but no, Floyd Q is not done yet. D-Crown can commit his own Primal Rage here, but may actually have to hold on to it. I don't know that they've got the presence here yet. D-Crown just going to lose his life there. That was nuts from Floyd Q.
Floyd Q was a swinging factor for them, right? He managed to get 3 kills in the middle of all of that one. Shui and Xiaolin as the Genji players. We did see the Dragon Blade of Xiaolin. 1 kill, like you mentioned, not quite enough. The supports, not quite enough either. You need to see some of these ultimates come into play. But for Hong Kong Attitude, they just had that difference.
Ooh, good pulse bomb onto a ting, forces out the self-destruct at a bit of an uncomfortable time, but Mui drops his counterpart. Does not quite connect the pulse bomb, but D-Crown drilled down, has to retreat. May even have to pop the Primal Rage. No, does not. 92%. Maybe that was actually the time to do it because I don't know if they can afford to wait for the respawn.
That should be it, unless somebody from Machi can touch in the final second, and somebody does, but they're just losing. Member, Shui, no HP.
And Kiyomi dying with that Transcendence as well. Another crucial tool they needed to stall it out to maybe at least get a full 6 on this point, but they're never going to get that opportunity. They had all the tools. They just never committed them at the right time, and now very much on the back foot. Xiaolin, Dragon Blade before Shui was even able to use his, and that means Shui isn't going to get to use one at all this game so far. 1-1 now, but that was a 100-0 shutout from Hong Kong Attitude.
And a statement from Hong Kong Attitude as well. Look, Machi had a great run into Shrine, but that one was pretty much all Hong Kong Attitude. The sort of late-ish swap from Shui from Pharah onto a Genji. In all honesty, they could have stayed on the Pharmacy combo because, again, because Hong Kong Attitude are running full die with the Tracer Genji, they still can't contest Shui. So, to be honest, for them going onto their own Genji, it was a little bit risky. I felt like they had enough pressure, they had enough damage, slow down the game just a little bit. If you're scared of the dive coming from Hong Kong Attitude, pull back, just let your Pharah do the damage, let them dive in, and the splash damage will take care of it. But for Machi, just couldn't land on the correct answers, just couldn't quite figure it out in time, and just, you know, couldn't find the appropriate response.
Yeah, and they did swap with about 70 to 80% charged up for that rocket barrage, which really could have, you know, opened the gate for a point cap. But even then, you saw a fight where the point cap was looking like a possibility. Hong Kong Attitude were kind of all out of resources, and it looked like the one that Machi were going to get in on. But once again, Hong Kong Attitude, this time it was Floyd Q, and it was in spectacular fashion. He's really kind of proved his salt already, I would say.
And that's one of those big fights, right? And it's not even just him. CQB had moments as well. He boot people off the edge. The environmental kills were definitely out in full effect. And it's one of those games where, funnily enough, it's not Xiaolin and it's not Mui who you would expect to be the ones pulling out the big guns and making all the flashy plays. It's the tanks and supports, that back line, that front line pressure coming out for play for Hong Kong Attitude that gave them that 100-0.
And I think we are starting to see just a little bit of those marginal things, roll by roll, where there does just seem to be a slight edge, I would say, to Hong Kong Attitude here. And it's similar to what we've actually seen in most of our series so far, where there's just been this little bit here and there. I mean, that isn't at all to discredit anyone here on Machi, but you know, we did actually see the direct comparison of Mui able to kill his counterpart in Kant. We were seeing it in Xiaolin, just kind of outdoing Shui in terms of actually getting damage out in fights and being able to utilize ultimates. Unfortunately, Shui never really got a chance to pull out the Dragon Blade.
And at the end as well, you just see these marginal things come out to play. The fact that Kiyomi died with Transcendence, Shui died at something like, 99%. He got a Dragon Blade while dead, while respawning. So a lot of these things, these very small, minute things just coming out into play that meant that for Machi Esports, just not enough.
Yeah, and also D-Crown as well, dying twice with a Primal Rage available. And I mean, you've got to consider the first time, look, fair enough, he was on the point alone. But the second time, it was at 95%. He was in retreat. And I think that's why he didn't want to pop it, because he was like, oh, well, I'm just going to pop it and then just keep retreating. I might as well reset. And I feel like maybe they hadn't really taken into account the fact that the point was about to go over. Like, they needed him alive, even if it was used at a slightly suboptimal time. But with it all now even, we make our way over to Village, where it will all get decided.
Exactly. The game should be resuming at any point now as well. Going back onto Village. Look, it's been 1-1 apiece, so all that's said and done, Machi have had great moments. Hong Kong Attitude, equally good moments.
Now we are going to see, yeah, Mui out on that Sombra, got something to prove, and Xiaolin back on the Tracer as well. So, we'll see how this very hard dive out of Hong Kong Attitude pays off.
And it's Machi pulling out the standard
Xiaolin
tanks here. Oh, already a pick from Mango Jai. This could really just stop Machi from really putting out the game plan.
That was a really late swap from Xiaolin, but he's able to already get back into frame. Getting that early pick out of Mango Jai was actually really significant. He might die, but luckily not just yet. Able to continue raining damage in onto these tanks. Now looking to get aggressive around the other side. And hey, you've already got to consider that EMP.
Oh, that's a lot of damage. Can we call
gross.
it trap as well? It's just like everything coming into play. And this is what you do to break through this kind of point control that Machi have. You surround them, you come in from multiple angles, and then you have the AoE damage to boot.
Yeah, you just start pummeling them in. You see how low D-Crown shield is. Then you press the go button. You pop Shui. You kill the front line of D-Crown. Suddenly Judo is a lone tank on the point, and then you just sweep them aside. And I was saying, they didn't actually have to pull it out as it turned out, but that EMP Riptire combo, now we're just waiting for it.
And we haven't even considered the fact that Mango Jai got this really nice kill into Restia to start things off with, and they couldn't take advantage of that because Xiaolin went back to base to change heroes, so it was kind of like a 5v5 there. But when Xiaolin came back, he lived, ton of damage, already onto the Riptire. It might not be a 5k, but it might not need to be a 5k.
Yeah, Judo committed the grab onto really no one, and they couldn't follow up thanks to the EMP. So yeah, Xiaolin now kind of has time on his side. Might not even need it as Floyd Q just once again, even looking to get the buffet of Kiyomi over the edge. Doesn't quite get it, but can just kind of chase him down instead. And that is one way to end the fight.
Kiyomi with the Coalescence as well, being pushed around, being bullied off the point. The Coalescence does nothing at that point. Floyd Q on these Primal Rages have so far been on point every single time. That's been a really huge factor for Hong Kong Attitude, something, unfortunately, D-Crown hasn't shown yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is something else out of Floyd Q. I've seen good Winstons, but I don't think I've ever seen that many kills out of Primal Rages.
Except when Zhongyi plays.
That is an exception, but Xiaolin down actually with that Riptire, not a comfortable way for it to start for Hong Kong Attitude. A team just kind of has to throw that one into the air. Sound barrier out, doesn't catch anyone with the self-destruct, but they do trade one back onto Kiyomi. Mui really has his work cut out for them, and they've got to respect this EMP. There they go, committing it out. Only getting a ting with it, but they get Floyd Q on the other side, and Machi off the back of that get a point.
Riptire was also Yuzo, and it's so for a kill. The one isn't going to be enough. In fact, it had to be about 5 if Hong Kong Attitude want to come in here. Getting the D-Mech onto Judo might give them a little bit of an advantage. Xiaolin is untouched.
Yeah, but Mui's dead, and Ting is only just getting back in the mech. Floyd Q had only just respawned. I feel like this is a little bit undisciplined out of Hong Kong Attitude.
They're winning.
It's working. I don't know how Mango Jai does it, but he does, and Floyd Q re-entering at a pretty crucial moment. apparently they were right to stay in the fight because it's paid off. I don't think Machi were expecting that.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because they did lose 2 tanks, but the damage from Shaolin was so respectable off the Riptide as well. The fact that he landed a bunch of grenade damage into mine damage, into the fact that Mango comes in as that extra DPS. When you're so good at Zen, that's what you can do.
And now there's the EMP out again, immediately onto Kiyomi, knows his priority targets. Now looking to just drill down these tanks when they can't use those defensive rescue tools. Judo, unfortunately, over the edge with that one as well. Ting getting the bump, and this is just time. Machi cannot be getting the point.
I mean, that being said, though, you needed a full reset very quickly, and they've reset it quickly enough that they should be able to touch the point in overtime. They got rid of the EMP on the other side as well. Kant has his one ready, and it's got to be big.
It does. There's the sound barrier. This would be the ideal time for Kant.
Now would be
position. Good. Yeah, and he's dead already. The Shaolin plus the defensive tools are all there. He got it off, but not on the right targets and not at the right time, and died straight after. It almost couldn't have gone worse. D-Crowd also not able to pop the Primal Rage to at least stall out. It's going to be Judo last man standing, and a second one on the board will do it for Hong Kong Attitude.
And we said it on Thursday night, right? Like, teams, when they can identify when to stay into fights, and it's not about being risky with it either. It's about being calculated. When you're calculated enough to say, this is when we're going to stay in, this is when we're going to play. By the way, this is the massive Earthshatter combo out of that. That's a full 6 if I'm not mistaken, and they're just whacking everybody with that. But enough of this sick place coming out of Floyd Q. Got to look at the fact that the deciding fight for Hong Kong Attitude was the one where they said, we lost 2 tanks, we go in anyway, we win that fight.
Yeah, like you said, the identification of win conditions, and we just didn't quite see it in the same extent out of Machi, with the exception being on Shrine, where I really think we did see it. They saw what ultimates they needed to be rotating through and when, and executed on them very well. Hong Kong Attitude, on the other hand, you know, they committed a Death Blossom at a really odd time, which could have otherwise been an ultimate that kind of got them back on the point. Yeah. They did have to commit that. I mean, as sick as it looked, both the Graviton and the Earthshatter at a particular junction to get onto the point. We saw a very awkwardly timed Coalescence early on out of Mango Jai. Things cleaned up considerably from there, and that did make the difference. So you've got to consider that also, in spite of that, Hong Kong Attitude now kind of hitting their stride and naturally closing out the map because of it.
Well, they're looking far more comfortable, right? They're looking like a team that is able to find these wins. And in cases where I think for a lot of teams, they wouldn't in the same scenario. Like, what team, after losing 2 tanks, can come back in and win like that? Certainly not very many, but Hong Kong Attitude is one of them, and that's why they're coming out on top. So aside from that, though, the one map that they did lose when we got to go back to, I believe it was Village. No, it was Shrine, actually. It was Shrine. When we look at Shrine and the way Machi won that one, just good, tight, clean macro play. They understood how to use their ultimates. Go back into that. We need to see some more of that, because on Sanctum, that kind of that kind of tempo and rotation was messed up. It was really messed up. Like, people, you know, were dying with ultimates. People's ultimates didn't quite come up in time, so it was just not coming in the right order. So when it does come in the right order, I think that's when we can see Machi shine again.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of D-Crown dying with Primal Rage available at times it really should have been committed. You know, when it's right at the end of the fight, when it's right at the end of the map. In fact, when you're in overtime, I mean, there's no reason to not use it unless you've been hacked, and you literally cannot, which has not been the case in both of those situations. Yeah. So just a couple of little bits here and there, you know, it's amounting to that. But I agree with you. I want to see that cleanliness of ult rotation out of Machi. Even when that comes into play, a part of me does still feel that maybe Hong Kong Attitudes is still just a little bit cleaner, and I feel that that's always, I mean, that's reflected in, you know, how these two teams have performed historically in the region. But at any rate, I still want to see that out of Machi, and maybe Numbani is the place where we see it.
And certainly could be. We're finally going to Numbani, by the way. We're seeing 2 Hollywoods now, so a little bit refreshing to go here instead. And I do want to touch up on that point, because you mentioned, look, even if Machi play clean, maybe they're just playing to the same level of cleanliness that Hong Kong Attitude are bringing to the table anyway. So they're not doing anything more than what Hong Kong Attitude are doing. That being said, though, Machi, I feel like when they do hit their stride, they could be pretty deadly. And I want to see the new players as well, like guys like Shui, guys like Judo, have some of these big moments, because we expect them out of Shaolin and Mui, but so far, out of Machi Esports, just waiting to see it.
Yeah, and I also want to see, I mean, Floyd Q has made an absolute splash. I mean, I want to see D-Crown also kind of measuring up to that, because we really know that he can. I mean, I'm kind of surprised in a sense on both sides of that coin, right? Both D-Crown and Floyd Q. But yeah, I mean, on the whole, we just kind of go back to that same thing, don't we? We need to see Machi just looking a little bit cleaner, playing at least to the level we know they can, play their best game, and hopefully that's going to be enough.
We need to see the combo play as well, because I think at the end of Nepal, even with Kant still playing a bit of Sombra, you started to see it lacking. You started to see the game plan not really being there, and it was on Shrine. So again, like we have very little to look at in terms of comparison here, because Machi have really only had that one really nice map, and then it kind of falls apart. So I also think for Nimbani as a map as well, the potential to see Shui back onto the Fire, we only saw a little bit of that, and there's a potential it could be really good. So maybe on the Fire comes back on Nimbani A point, maybe even a little bit further on. We just saw a little glimpse of Shui on the Genji as well, which he's currently hovering over. So we just haven't seen enough of Machi, I don't think. And that's mostly because Hong Kong Attitude just stealing the show.
Yeah. Where do you think the name Floyd Q comes from, by the way? Because the only thing I can think of is Floyd Mayweather, like if he had an ultimate.
See, I'm thinking of Schoolboy Q, the rapper.
Schoolboy Q. Not familiar, sorry.
It's okay.
But
you needed to be around.
Is his
you needed to be around
first name,
2014.
Is his first name Floyd?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't think so. Schoolboy like, Floyd Q.
It's like Mr. Q. Please call me Schoolboy.
Either way, like you can start to see the difference, because a Ting moving onto Flex Tank. First of all, Ting used to be a main tank, and you're kind of thinking, well, he was decent enough as a main tank. You know, it's a little strange. It's a little strange to see the swap now. But then Floyd Q comes in, it's like, okay, I can see why.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like a Ting is causing any problems, right? Also, kind of, someone has to move into that Flex Tank role, left open by Holiday Carroll leaving the team. But at any rate, yeah, Hong Kong Attitude on the defense first. Up to get to that one, we'll have to see how well Machi's dive comes out here.
And Cat going back onto Sombra. So Sombra Genji gameplay again. The Sombra here is just to kind of fill in for the Tracer, similar type of playstyle, similar type of way to play. Ken is under a decent amount of pressure to start things off, and look at the health damage.
Yeah, he is getting a lot of EMP charge though, and that could be the important thing here. We're seeing Hong Kong Attitude though with the old long gun, short gun, and it pays off.
And no tanks.
Yep, routing around the tanks is all they need to kind of cut that one short for Machi, who now just have to go back and reassess.
And you know the backline was effective, you know the damage was good, when both Mui and Mango Jai are so charged up, late kill to Judo. That's going to slow things down considerably for Machi Esports. And 1 minute gone already, no progress, nothing done from the Machi side.
Barely an ult charge.
That's the thing, right? Because Kant spent a long time charging ult, but still, he's behind the main people on Hong Kong Attitude.
Who, by the way, are coming into very important ultimates like Transcendence, like Tactical Visor. As I say that, Kant finds the wraparound, and CQB dead. No Nano Visor combo to be a factor here. Hong Kong Attitude now just kind of in damage control mode, but they get Q up and they get Restier. They've even upped the score for now, and Mui Visor needs to get a lot done. Can pressured out, can still come back in with an EMP. Shui as well can come in with the Dragon Blade, especially with the Ting's mech out the picture. But no, Shui goes down. Shining gets a stick on Judo too, and Floyd Q once again. Shining with 6 health living at the end of that one, and now Hong Kong Attitude can reset, having only given up a third for what looked like a disastrous start.
And Ken's going to regret using that EMP as well. Unnecessary. His team was already dead. Most of the important members were gone. Hong Kong Attitude, their damage control game was so good there. Mango Jai, he died on like 98%. That was so critical. The fact that he didn't have Trans ready to stop it, then Mui had to use this desperation visor, got nothing out of it, but did push Machi out. Floyd Q though, he got the kills.
And now Mui, they're just trying to dive onto him, but he's got all the healing and he's got the nano boost. He finally goes down to the self-destruct, but Machi are the ones in disarray, having to res Shui, but he's already committed. The Dragon Blade will not be getting that back. Hong Kong Attitude still have tools. There's the Primal Rage from Floyd Q, but Machi, yeah, they do still have the other members in this fight, and yeah, hacked out a Ting, gets the self-destruct out. Floyd Q did at least find something, so now Hong Kong Attitude, with those closer respawns, they've maybe weathered the worst of it and can start biting back, can start getting the respawns. The DPS is from Machi pulling back. and even dying here.
Well, they are getting trades, though. Both tanks down means the backline should be open on the Hong Kong Attitude side. That being said, look, Mango Jai hitting shots. Kent should be respawning back in the action with the EMP, but it's a full reset. Machi Esports will have to be happy with that 1/3. 48% now under 1 minute. It is fully capable, but we need to see these ultimates go off in effect.
And so far, they just kind of struggled, even when the ultimates have committed. Hong Kong Attitude have been able to shut a lot of things down. Hong Kong Attitude, they don't have the defensive ultimates, but they could just kind of nip this one in the bud. One well-placed pulse bomb is all it would take.
Mui getting close to the visor as well.
Ooh.
That could be an EMP that wins a game.
Yeah, and the pulse bomb goes wide out of Xiaolin. They pop a ting straight away. Kiyomi with the Transcendence as well. Definitely looking better this time around as Machi CQB dropped as well. Xiaolin, he's nearly out. Mui, yeah, visor, but only gets the one. And Xiaolin pressured a long way out of the fight. Shui closes out on Mango Jai. This should be the one to get for Machi. Wow, Floyd Q, when he's dead, you know it's over.
You know it's something. You know Shui as well. Getting the double kill, long-range shurikens, nailing Floyd Q in the back there for Machi Esports. Finally some momentum, capping in the overtime, but the cart is finally there. I say momentum, but we are now into a pause, so a little bit of thinking time for both sides.
Like what? The game's not finished.
I will be honest though. I will be honest though. If it's a mouse problem, look, Mui's just got to, you know, pull some mice out. For the brothers
he's
here,
got
just
the mouse collection.
hand them out. Give everybody a new mouse if like they need it, because it's.
This is when it would be weird if it was actually a rodent collection. Like someone's mouse breaks, so he just hands them like a live. Try and plug the tail in. Like it's not working.
It's not that kind of mice collection. I can't help you. Sorry.
Yes. Sorry. Wrong mouse. I mean, is there like a third kind of mouse that we don't know about? So like a kind of.
Like I'm thinking hard.
Now I'm wondering if like what if it's just completely like. Left field. What if it's like Royal Dalton porcelain like mice figurines?
Because that is the other thing, right? Like it could be like
pottery.
It could be like not even pottery, but just like figurines.
Yeah. It's like pop vinyl, but it's mice.
Like something.
I mean, yeah, because I mean maybe it is a collection of like hardware, but I don't get it. I don't.
Like you don't use it. Like it's in like you know when you collect rare figurines, something just always in the box. It's like that, but it's like the front's open, so you can see the mouse. Like I'm talking about the actual computer mouse here. You can see the mouse just behind plastic.
It would be pretty ghastly if you were talking about the rodent kind of mouse.
Oh, okay, that kind of collection is a little bit creepier because it's not like butterflies, right? Like you get like butterfly collections, but like a mice version would be a bit too much.
Taxidermy mice in glass display cases.
Okay.
You walk into Mui's house like,
and you walk out straight away.
Turns out I've got something to be.
You did the Abe Simpson thing and just walk straight up. But I'm sure he's a normal guy, Len.
Definitely, absolutely, with his mouse collection and everything, perfectly normal dude. Hey, for a time, I used to collect, this is going to make me sound really, really dorky, I'm sure. I used to collect dragon figurines.
Yeah, you're dorky.
So it's but it's like, if I say I have a dragon collection, there's no ambiguity. People know I don't have a bunch of live dragons in my backyard.
No ambiguity.
No.
Like, is that like teen slang for something? I don't know. Like what else? It could be something. I don't know. I'm not getting there.
Talk to Pixie.
Let's get straight back into. Let's get straight back into Nimbani. Machi still underway. 2:18 on the clock for them. Couple ultimates in the bank as well. Waiting for Shui to really pop off because we've seen him get kills outside of the blade, but can he get them in the blade?
That's going to be the real question. I mean, we haven't actually had a chance to see a Shui blade really. So kind of
Shui blade. That's got some sort of
first outing. Yeah, the Shui blade.
That was a Shui blade, man.
Oh, the absolutely Shui blade. That's going to be the nano boost already committed onto Floyd Q. Just trying to nip this one in the bud. The hacks were there as well, and they get it. Now getting aggressive with the old primal rage. I mean, we know Floyd Q to be an angry man. Wow, able to get the corner trap on Bastion right outside his base. Riz is like right there. He's like, no, please. Let me out.
That was a pretty effective nano, all things considered. For Machi, though, they do save every other ultimate. The problem is they might have to use some just to get out the door, because it is the spawn camp in effect here. And that is a tricky scenario for Machi to be in.
Yeah, starting to bust out now, though. Hong Kong Attitude not getting the picks on Machi as they're on their way out. Now queuing the fight with the sound barrier. They want to commit. Self-destruct on the back end, not quite finding anything. Mui as well, and with the EMP, but the follow-up not quite there. They do at least get canned. They take Machi's EMP off the table, but here's the Shui Blades. Already CQB. He's just got no other targets, though. Kiyomi's already done the work, and the rest of Hong Kong Attitude flagged the retreat. Cut's going to move on forward, but Hong Kong Attitude do get to reset for another fight.
And still keep the EMP as well. Note 3 ultimates were used there, 3 were saved, so Machi still get to roll on through. Only halfway through this B sort of section, rounding out into the last bin. And for Hong Kong Attitude, not enough resources. In fact, they're barely there in time to stop this.
Yeah, gonna have to just go, go, go. Now,
Somebody, please.
Shaolin, someone on the point. Oh, just in the nick of time, but the EMP is right on top of them. They weather the storm just a little bit, losing Mui though and Floyd Q. Maybe the storm has started to overcome them, drown them out as it were. Now Hong Kong Attitude, now once again flagging that full retreat. They are gonna be successful in doing that. Actually catching D-Crown at the back end is decent. Minute 45 to push through C.
And we've sort of rotated into 2 other ultimates here for Machi, not quite as effective ultimates, unless D-Crown can do what Floyd Q's been doing, the Primal Rages. I'm not too sure that this will be enough to push Machi over the edge, but for Hong Kong Attitude, they're still just waiting for their first ultimate since, like, that one fight went on B defense when they got the spawn camp, because right now, this cart's moving.
Yeah, Machi have had a really high momentum kind of push here. Despite that spawn camp and everything, they haven't had a good defense since then, Hong Kong Attitude, and this one is kind of looking to go that same way already. I mean, here comes Floyd, but he's got no one else in the fight with him, and he's not actually finding the same momentum, the same kills this time. Not with both the supports keeping everyone topped off, and it didn't even really stall the card up much.
And look at that, ultimates for Machi again. I keep having to save ultimates because they keep having them. Shui Blade back into a flick. Judo with the self-destruct now, and back on the EMP pretty soon.
Self-destruct from Judo doesn't find picks, but it does make space. Now the payload threatening a cap, but Kiyomi dead. Did not use the Transcendence, and Machi very quickly flag a retreat because of it.
But I have to give Kiyomi the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe he got hacked by Mui because that's about the only excuse he can really have. It's 5 ultimates, but for some reason, Machi keep getting caught in these spaces where, despite having the advantage, they're just struggling to commit them sometimes. And now Mui, he's got his own EMP. If Machi had committed in the last fight, if Can't have caught Mui, this could have already been a cap.
And Mui's going for a very long flank here, looking for an angle inward. Can needs to find one of his own. The cart's moving. They got to get on it. Ooh, that was tight. Mui in though with the EMP could be enough even as he loses his life, but Can's still holding on to his, wants to shut down this defense. There it goes out, but he does go down. A ting nothing with the
Shui Blade.
Shui Blade gets CQB, and that was the only one they needed. The self-destruct from a ting did not create enough space. And really, Machi just had the tools at the end there. They had plenty enough to get it over the line.
I mean, they had the tools at the start, the middle, and the end. They had the tools the entire way. The biggest problem was sometimes they just couldn't commit the tools. Sometimes they just got caught out despite having the ultimates, and they just, you know, had to back out when actually this was a very winnable fight for them. But I feel like aside from that one spawn cap and aside from the slow take on A where they could only get an overtime, most of B was pretty good. Most of C was pretty good, and that's a really Machi-dominated attack for the second half.
Yeah, you do absolutely have to consider that. Now Hong Kong Attitude kind of have to measure up to that in their own right. And I feel like it is very possible for us to see that, but I think what was surprising on that defense was just how little Hong Kong Attitude were getting. I mean, you compare that really to Nepal. I mean, even to their own point A defense. When they were losing fights, they weren't getting anything back. They weren't getting trades. They weren't getting things to charge up their ultimates. That's why Machi had so much of a lead. It's not that Hong Kong Attitude were committing resources and not getting anything. They just didn't have resources.
And that's the thing, right? Because for Hong Kong Attitude, they had a decent A defense with the Mui Soldier. Like, they played that very cleanly. They disengaged properly. They punished dive properly. And then when they got to B and C, the first part of B, good. They have the spawn camp, but it's barely a spawn camp when Machi just walk on out. They should have been able to force ultimates out of Machi. They should have made Machi work to get out of spawn, not just let them walk for free.
Well, the thing that's really going to make it count, though, for Machi is whether their own defense can kind of match up. Luckily for them, wasn't quite overtime. When
hey, look, Bello's been here.
Yeah, wasn't quite overtime, but by like a fraction of a hair, 2.2 seconds. But they do at least get a time bank if Hong Kong Attitude pushed all the way through. But Machi really want to not let that happen.
And it's going to be the same defense compositionally for Machi as it was for Hong Kong Attitude. So now seeing how they play with Shui is going to be very important. Not going to see a Shui Blade, we'll see a Shui Visor.
The Schweizer.
Visor.
Oh, that was very dangerously close to something I'm not allowed to say on broadcast. but that is already a very convincing dive. The bio grenade from Mango Jai was phenomenal, and the follow-up was tidy. Machi just get destroyed.
Brescia changing very quickly onto the Lucio as well. So Machi now getting ready to... Okay, there's someone still alive right there. It's Kent trying to get out.
Oh, he's nearly
barely alive.
I think he was hoping to maybe stall for some respawners.
No.
Yeah.
That he would not have stalled for very long. He was quick to die.
Too far forward, can't deflect the Tesla cannon, son. Machi, they want to set up a spawn camp of their own, and unlike Machi, Hong Kong Attitude do not have a lot of tools to bust out of that spawn if they get set up, but not all actually routed back to spawn, so Machi, you just have to back off.
I guess that's the kind of advantage of losing A so quickly, as you respawn to defend B equally as quick, and that means they can set up on this corner, this very important corner, and can just stop Hong Kong Attitude's progress quite quickly.
But Hong Kong Attitude now coming into the ultimates, they're going to need to blow through this one. Pulse Bomb from Kant does not connect. Pulse Bomb from Mui, similarly wide. Just waiting for the in. Self-destruct from Judo makes space.
Silent solo.
Oh, but he gets two before going down, and that's going to bust it open. That means Judo doesn't remech. D-Crown, the Soul Tank, gets focused down quick, smart. The payload is contested, but I guarantee it won't be for long.
Yeah, Machi, unfortunately, at the end there as well. Kiyomi did have Transcendence. He wisely held on to that one because otherwise it would have been a waste. But you would have also liked to see a better commit where everyone was alive. The Trance was used to keep everyone alive still. But Shailin just ripped through the team, getting 2 kills so quickly. Machi didn't have a response.
And now what Hong Kong Attitude have is extra tools to be rotating into for the next one. They don't quite have a DPS ultimate, but they've got plenty. There's going to be, yeah, exactly, the nano boost already out onto the tanks as they just look to get aggressive. Pressure on D-Crown, just shy of a Primal Rage. Now Kiyomi will commit the Transcendence, but there's already a numbers disadvantage here for Machi. Self-destruct onto the ground
Visor.
To create space.
No
Split
Visor.
his members, no Visor, shut down right as he started channeling it. That's about as hard as it can go. Judo nothing with his self-destruct. Now it's just the tanks playing stall. This is sure to turn into a cap. They're not even on the point in this. They're just giving away ult charge and distance.
5 minutes and 15. That is a dominant C now, or dominant B, I should rather say, and A included for Machi Esports. Again, just the timing's just a little bit weird. Brescia hit the sound barrier right at the end there, just as everyone else died, so you don't even want to commit it. It's the same as Kiyomi just earlier on. Machi, they got to have everything together. Sound barrier now to counter out Shailin's Dragon Blade. That's got to be the play.
It really does. And Kant onto the Sombra, gonna have to get an EMP quick smart, and there it is, countering out the Shailin Dragon Blade. That's a good start for Machi. It's a 1-for-1. This one they're happy to take. Should be able to start rotating into those other ultimates like the EMP by the time the next fight is in full swing.
And the good news is Machi have been able to get early contests on pretty much all of these points so far. On B, they certainly made that first corner. On C, now they're again making this first corner, and very important to be able to stop the count this early. Stop the attackers, in this case Hong Kong Attitude, from getting good flanks down. A 1-for-1 trade so far.
Yeah, beautiful stick, but yeah, Kant really makes it worth his while. Now Shui as well, closing one out on Floyd Q, means Hong Kong Attitude just don't have the juice for this one. Mui as well might just go down here.
And now the EMP should be pretty good. So we're back into the Machi ult sort of windmill here. This ult just fact. Okay, that's not how you want to use it. So
that was definitely a misclick.
Yeah,
you can see him, he was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, he's got to, so now to sort of rebind that into something else. No longer get to press Q for ultimate. Well, I was gonna say all this nice things about Machi, like, okay, you got an EMP into other ultimates.
Yep.
But forget about that.
Yeah, sort of, well, I mean, he makes up for it by 1v1ing Mui, so...
Well, the good news is, Hong Kong Attitude don't know. They shouldn't know that the EMP was used, right? Maybe
they probably would have heard. They probably would have heard, because if I'm not mistaken, Mui hadn't actually died.
What?
They should be able to kill him there. What a catch, Donnie. Mango Jai.
You don't mess with Mango Jai.
That man is terrifying. Sleep you out of nowhere. It's one heck of a boogeyman. And now with the nano boost, they're looking around the bend. 3 minutes with a numbers advantage. Kant will be able to respawn, but Floyd Q going ahead to try and make the space, trapping these supports back in here. Shailin trying to go to work as well. A few trade backs, but Hong Kong Attitude not quite getting the big upper hand just yet. Kant low, pressured out. Mango Jai, though, is dead on the dive, but these tanks from Machi are super low. Hong Kong Attitude can start taking advantage of that, and indeed they do. Self-destruct forward now from it. down the targets and also doing a decent job of stalling the payload, at least till now. Great hack on Floyd Q, and no supports in line of sight for him to fall back to. That should be the payload stalled up again now by Machi.
And the only sad thing is Kant went down there, because otherwise he was so close to the EMP, and now, I mean, for Machi, they got to overcome the fact that they wasted the EMP. If they can get this defense underway, which it kind of is right now, they've stalled it up completely. Hong Kong Attitude forced to fully reset and can't back onto that original EMP that he lost. It's kind of like nothing happened. It's not that nothing happened, but you can act like nothing happened.
Ooh, stick on Floyd Q, but it will get healed up, so zero-sum game, unfortunately, for Shui. Yeah, the EMP is there. It's really got to connect on Shaolin. Cat, was trying to maybe look for an angle in there.
He had no teammates to support.
Yeah, unfortunately, and that gives Hong Kong Attitude a bit of a window.
And this is where Hong Kong Attitude got to make a lot of these work as well. Here comes Shaolin. Maybe the EMP should be used right now.
Yeah, and Shaolin trying to get a lot of work done, but he's not got any targets as a Ting gets pressured out.
Good
down
counter.
there, cancelled, and instantly they drop a Ting in CQB. That's what Machi were after here. And that's also with Shaolin just coming up with nothing on his Dragon Blade. That is the rotation that they need. That is, like you said, the ultimate windmill in Hong Kong Attitude, and no Don Quixote.
Oh, wow. And that's kind of what you expected earlier as well. I think Kant now has effectively gone over. Oh, that came out as he translocated that. Otherwise, would have just been him dying. So, well timed to just get out of the way of Mui. And Shaolin and Mui both, by the way, changing heroes. Hong Kong Attitude in the last minute still can't decide what they want to play. And in this last minute, they'll probably only get one ultimate at best.
Ting is taking so much damage on the approach here. They've really identified him as a priority target. So far, it's kind of worked out. And Machi have these stall tools. This is going to be a really hard ask for Hong Kong Attitude, but they've Kant. No. That is big. Self-destruct from Judo goes wide, only creating space, but a Ting may not be able to use his own if he gets closed out on here. No, he's able to pull back, but Mui's pressured out. Once again, Hong Kong Attitude, a little split, a little pressured, but they're able to regroup.
We do have support ultimates coming up for both sides as well. CQB, a little bit off, so for Machi Esports, they can survive. They should go aggressive here as well. The self-destruct got nothing.
Yeah, Ting is able to remech though, just barely, and that means Machi find themselves without those tank ultimates in their own right as they lose D-Crown, but the pick on CQB is very, very crucial. Hong Kong Attitude are going to have to commit a lot more to make this one happen, and Machi, they've got the respawn advantage and these big tools coming up.
And the EMP is going to be really important because Mui's so close. If they can take down Mui, that'll be the game win that they need. Double support elements all were used.
It is disaster already. The EMP just coming up big. Hong Kong Attitude now kind of in recovery mode as they look to blast their way on, but they could still do it. It is definitely not over until the bell tolls as Shaolin running circles around trying to drill down Kant. No, not quite closing him out. Finally getting it on the later end of the fight. Judo just barely able to save himself with a self-destruct, but D-Crown not so lucky. Judo will not remech, and they've done it. They've got it back underway. Machi, they are not out of the woods yet. They've got some respawns, but they might not get them on. No, they will not. Oh my goodness gracious me. I didn't think they would do it, but they have. And as it turns out, that 2.2 seconds will make all the difference here for Machi.
It will, because it will force now Hong Kong Attitude to be the defenders. That being said, 1 minute and 2.2 seconds is very difficult to get that one tick on through. At the minimum, though, Machi can't lose this. They can draw this, but they can't lose this anymore, and that is very important for this team. So that 2.2 has made all the difference. That being said, though, Machi also don't want to draw this. They could have won. They could have just full held C.
Yeah.
They had everything working for them. That final EMP from Kant, he needed to shut down Mui. He needed to get more out of that. And for the rest of the team to take more advantage out of that. They should have won, but they didn't. And now we're into time bank. And if Machi do not win this time bank, they'll be kicking themselves.
I mean, that's the thing. Like you said, they actually could have won. Indeed, maybe even should have won. You've got to respect Hong Kong Attitude. Knowing how to just pull back in that moment when it was looking so dire. Also, and man, Shaolin did not give up. And now Machi, having just nearly been able to win it, could even end up losing it.
Also, I lie, Hong Kong Attitude will get their own attack here with 1 minute as well. So somebody could still, Machi could actually still lose this, which makes the situation even worse. I mean, in a scenario where, you know, a draw is not good enough, a loss is far worse.
Yeah, a loss here would really be, you know, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, right? Hong Kong Attitude. That 2 seconds difference means they attack first, and they need to do so convincingly. They need to set a good distance.
And look at Machi's composition here. Because they're playing dive, they can get quite aggressive. Winning one fight off a dive means Hong Kong Attitude will be on such a back foot they might not be able to come back in time. Look, nearly half the time gone.
Floyd Q, where's the healing for him? Where is CQB in this? They're just having to back up. No, he's dead. They trade one back, but man, losing Floyd Q is big because now they just kind of have to go with only a Ting on the front line, needing to maybe finish off Shui. They get Restia.
That's a big kill. They've
got Shailin set up, actually. Shui getting very pressured here. Has to respect Shailin, but Shailin also respecting the deflect, and now Floyd Q can actually rejoin.
I think this will be a cap because Shailin's set up. He's got the damage boost. He's on the high ground. No one can really access him. Both tanks from Hong Kong Attitude going to be on the point now as well. So
2
ticks is already good.
Now they commit. They do have Shui on the other side, so they can go in for a bit of a pincer here, but it's still going to be tough to execute. They do get Mango, but trade back is there, losing the front line. They get a good catch with the supports and a nice pulse bomb. Closes out on a Ting. Very nicely done for Machi. Hong Kong Attitude, though, not done with this just yet. Floyd Q, though, will not be able to stall with a Primal Rage. Mui dying just shy of an EMP, staying in the thick of it a little bit too long. With Floyd Q going down, that progress on the point will be all that Hong Kong Attitude get. They don't get the full cap, but getting that progress could just be enough if they can just fully stop up Machi's offense.
Yeah, because 102 is not really anything. I mean, the 2 seconds pretty much doesn't make a difference here. It might as well just be the 1 minute. Both teams might as well have exactly the same time. And for Machi to even complete that defense was pretty impressive, and off the fact that Hong Kong Attitude just didn't hit the timing of the ultimates, and that's because they had that really slow start. Again, Floyd Q died quite early. They had a lot of trouble getting back in. They did get that one trade which allowed them to be on the point, but just not enough to finish things off. Mui dying just before EMP, as was mentioned. Also, Shailin didn't have enough members, had the tactical visor, but couldn't use it. He ends up dying with it as well. So Hong Kong Attitude just shy of nearly getting a lot of work done. That being said, though, we're not going to have that crazy game where Bazaar just go all the way to the end of the map.
Yeah.
Like, what was that?
We don't get that one, at least not a second time. As much as I would enjoy that, but yeah, like you said, Machi, they only really get one push. And that's the thing, right? Hong Kong Attitude essentially had a successful push. Sure, they didn't get the full cap, they didn't get the, the closeout, they didn't get the extra distance, but either Machi have one successful push or they have one unsuccessful push, and that's going to make the difference here.
And I don't know how I feel about this. Like, I kind of even just want to close my eyes. This is tough because
do it. Go on.
I don't
just guess.
All right, I'm doing it. No.
Guess at what happens. Like, just based off what I say, you have to guess what's happening.
And the sound. The sound of the game.
And oh my god, they've done it! They are trying to sort of jostle in,
squeeze charge.
Yeah, that is a lot. Hey, how did you know that? Aren't your eyes closed?
Oh, damn.
But yeah, I mean, that could be the difference maker, especially with Mango Jai dead. Hong Kong Attitude really need to find an angle in. A Ting
nearly got played
out. Can you believe this? Machi are just punching a hole through Hong Kong Attitude, who are just putting up so little resistance. A Ting now fully getting dropped down. Trait back is at least there on D-Crown, but where is the angle in for Hong Kong Attitude? Floyd Q kind of having to work overtime here, and the res on D-Crown. Shui, though, dead to CQB. One cheeky shot is all it's going to take the Dragon Blade off the table. He will not be able to rejoin the fight. It ends too quickly. But yeah, Valkyrie is there for Restia. Floyd Q's dead. Mango Jai just walking in there alone. Oh, are you kidding me? Hong Kong Attitude just put up next to no resistance.
And wow, the damage from Street. Like, how does he get that much? And that's not like he's not diving in or anything. He's just throwing out long-range shurikens, and they're connecting. Like, that's all it is at the end of the day there. Machi, to be quite honest with you, they were expected. They should have been expected to win. They were meant to win that C defense anyway. They were meant to fully stop the Hong Kong Attitude attack. So I guess the universe has a funny way of just making sure, like, if you were meant to win, you were meant to win in this case, in this stage. And for Machi, man, that would have been so heartbreaking if they didn't get it.
I mean, as much as that's the case, I kind of feel like Hong Kong Attitude lost that more than Machi won it, at least right at the end. I mean, you've got to consider, first of all, with how C went. Look, it was Machi's good defense, but it was also Hong Kong Attitude really finding no way in. And also, I think more importantly, Hong Kong Attitude's flimsy defense on C and then also on that time bank A. Like, that was flimsy in the extreme. There was no proactivity. They pulled right back. Now, you can respect that they were doing it because they didn't just want to pile in and get completely wiped out, but they weren't getting any trade kills. They weren't getting any pressure back. And then when they did start recommitting, having pulled back, it was in the most harebrained way. Like, this is an incredibly good, high-caliber team. Why is Mango Jai walking on alone?
Okay,
Why are these members going in the way they were?
Well, I mean, the members, we have to respect the damage here. Again, when you look at ult charge, if you're being poked out that effectively by a Genji, and that's not something you expect a soldier to do that, maybe a McCree to do that, not a Genji. A Genji doesn't have that kind of poking power, but a Shui's getting 50% ult charge, and the next guy's at 10%. Like, something is happening for this team, and something that is happening for this match as well. 2 maps underway already, it's 1-1 apiece. When we come back from the break, we'll find out exactly how this one concludes between